they'll probably win. But I just think it's hard to expect you win every time in overtime. There's so many things that it's such a razor's edge.
That's interesting. I thought the stat was cool, and I didn't think that at all. I was like, oh, good.
But you see, this is the NFL. You're not going to be. They're not. They don't become like this juggernaut powerhouse team that's way better than everybody, just because the game went to overtime. It's a tight game that can go either way. They found a way. Just think about all the crazy things that happen in these games, where you look like you've got it one. I mean, they go right down. Just like last night in the Patriots game, the guy doinks one from 56 yards out. They probably have no business trying that, but he almost made it.
Well, and they tried it because he's been very accurate. The problem is he had an injury.
35 in a row or something?
Yeah,
but it's pouring rain, and it's
his
57
plant leg,
yards.
He's got an injury to his plant leg and all that stuff. So, I mean, but still, it is what it is. So, number one, the Titans didn't deserve to win that game. Let's just call it what it is. They didn't. The way they played the entire game,
no.
You get 9 points when you're in the red zone, and you should be getting touchdowns. I thought the play calling in the red zone was not good.
If somebody pushes back on that statement, Chase, I would love for them to call in, and
I'd love to hear
the pushback to that. If you feel like the Titans deserve to win that game, please call in, and we will give the floor to you, and I want to hear it. I want to hear why you think they deserve to win.
Yeah, they did not deserve to win that game at all. And we talked about it all last week. It had a trap game feel to it and all that stuff, and people can say, oh, that's, trap games don't exist and yada, yada, yada. They fell right into it. They went up there, and they had an opportunity early on in that game to put their foot on the Jets' throat, and they didn't do it. If you settle for field goals every time in the red zone, yeah, I put that in the category of you don't deserve to win because you're not converting on your chances. And that's exactly what happened. And they let the Jets stay in it. They couldn't get to Wilson. They couldn't protect Tannehill. And it showed that he didn't have any of his weapons other than Derrick Henry. McNichols played a nice game. I'll give McNichols, but he had some key drops, and you're asking him to do a lot more than he's asked to do.
Did anybody in Pick 6 say Jeremy McNichols?
No.
Anyone?
I was thinking about that on my drive.
Listeners,
nobody said Jeremy
McNichols.
I don't think
anybody said McNichols.
Yeah, he was a big part of the game, and almost too big of a part.
Right.
When you get down to some of the
by the way, who finished second
decisions
in receptions? No one said either. Josh Reynolds. Like the two leading receivers, no one said in Pick 6 on Friday.
And I thought Joe had a good column about it. I think we all kind of have these same thoughts. Joe is good at putting into words. That's why he's a writer. But, I thought a big matchup was Jets corners, which were young, inexperienced, plus the injuries at safety they had. It creates what looks like on paper to be a good matchup. But then you counter that and you say, well, the Titans are playing without A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. So you have this group of guys we talked about all week is, okay, who's going to get the ball? Who's going to step up? Who's going to get open? Praising did not have a good game. He did not step up the way I thought he would. It was a great opportunity for him, Nick Westbrook-Akina.
NWI. And,
he had a couple of catches, but not good enough. I thought Reynolds wasn't good enough. That was – they get a lot of mileage out of these guys in general, but in that game, the Jets – survived their weakest part of their defense. And a big part of that was because the Jets' front seven just beat up the Titans' offensive line all day.
Just say they dominated.
They did. Now, run blocking was a little different story. Derrick Henry still had a Derrick Henry kind of day, but they just had all kinds of problems from the start of the game protecting Ryan Tannehill, so that made it easier on that Jets secondary, and they just could not exploit that group. They had to work for everything they got.
Here's my concern on the O-line. I don't see this getting better this year, and here's why. I think Lewan, unfortunately, is nice of a career as he's had. I think he's done.
Done what? Well, I'm just going to tell you right now. That's my Twick. Okay,
I don't think he comes back from. I don't think he comes back from this. I just the rehab or whatever. I don't know if they rushed him back but there's a lot of things. It's more than just the knee. He doesn't have the same speed and the get off that he usually does. And mentally, I don't know if he's there. I feel like he's just not there. I think he's done. I think he's unfortunately, I think he might be at the end. It's just the way he's playing right now.
I don't think he's at the end of his career. This is what I know is he's done here. Like
he's done here.
It's over here.
No, I agree.
They're going to move on from Taylor Lewan.
The guy that I
feel pretty good about.
The guy that I do believe is at the end of his career, and he's been a great piece here. But I was worried about this when they extended him. Is Ben Jones? Yeah, I think Ben Jones is.
But here's the problem. Here's the problem with that. We see what life after Ben Jones looks like. It's horrible.
They don't have one. That's
Aaron Brewer comes in for a play and snaps the ball 20 yards over the quarterback's head.
But why are they in that formation, in that play? That's another story. 3rd and 1, 3rd and half a yard, and they're in a shotgun with their backup
center. Look, I agree.
And Derrick Henry not in the game? That one was the most mystifying play of the whole
That is coaching.
Day.
That's just
I don't understand that.
I'm sorry. That is one. As much as we like to, we can sit here and I brought up Aaron Brewer. That's coaching, man. Like you said, what was it? Was it even a yard?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a yard. And
you have your backup center, and you've got him in shotgun with your backup center, and you need less than a yard. That is coaching. And that's 100% coaching.
I thought Todd Downing did some nice things too. Like I think when you don't have. That's a good defense. You don't have your top 2 wide receivers. You're going to create some issues there. And you can't block anybody. That creates some problems. Like, what are you supposed to do? I don't know if you're a magician, you can have a perfect offensive game plan. They made it work to a degree. But that particular play call, I don't get. I also don't get, there was a couple other times where they chose McNichols in the shotgun rather than Henry.
Yep.
And I was just,
I tweeted it.
Right there. 2-minute warning in overtime. They come out and they have McNichols in, and I'm like, what?
So I tweeted while watching the game, and this tweet got retweeted and liked more than just about anything I have ever tweeted out there before. But I said, and I'm trying to read it word for word, whoever's deciding Henry shouldn't be on the field on 4th down, even as a decoy, should be fired. Unreal. And I mean,
it depends on where which one are you talking about? Which 4th down?
This was it was 4th quarter. It wasn't overtime, but it was the one they didn't get.
Because this is the dilemma.
I get like 4th and 5. You may not go to him, but at least put him on the field. At least have him there.
Part of the dilemma is that McNichols is a pretty good option in situations, and he had a good game. That's why.
No, he had a great game.
He did.
Minus the one drop. I'm stopping short of great. He had his best game. But the question is, who's a better option?
Well, how could you expect any more out of McNichols than what he gave you? How could you possibly think there's more for McNichols than what you got yesterday?
I think he's an overachiever, but he's not a great talent. He's a good,
but for McNichols,
player.
That is a great game.
For McNichols, yes. But you have Derrick Henry on your team.
No, I'm not disagreeing with what you guys are saying.
I'm just saying it's a dilemma. Yeah. McNichols does better things than Henry as a receiver.
No question.
But Henry is such a threat. I think when the other team sees McNichols come on the field, like, okay, I can deal with it.
There's
I can deal with McNichols.
But okay, so why? That's my point. You just proved my point for me. Why wouldn't you put both of them out there? Your option may be to go to McNichols, but if you're the defense, you cannot ignore 22.
Right, but they play the same position though. They both are they don't use.
Okay, Jeff. All right, Jeff Fisher telling me they
can't have X and Y.
You can't have Kenny Brett and Randy Moss out there at the same time.
I don't.
Basically,
you're saying one is going to be the fullback.
Fine.
Okay.
Put Henry in at the fullback.
Henry in the fullback? I don't know.
Willie, if you're a defensive coordinator and you look out there and you go, well, they got McNichols and Henry on the field at the same time, are you going to say Henry's a decoy, ignore him? You may say he's probably not going to do anything, he's a decoy, but you can't ignore him. You have to recognize the fact that he's out there. That's my whole thing, and they don't want to do that.
No, they haven't done it in 2 years since they've had these guys.
But like 3rd downs or 4th downs, I mean, and he can catch the ball now. Like, he's proving that he can do that. So.
But most teams don't do that. Put two tailbacks on the field at the same time. Not very often.
So who cares what most teams do? You think Sean McVay cares about what the rest of the league is doing? Bill Belichick? No. The great ones, they go out there and do it. It doesn't matter what the rest of the league is doing. Why can't you do it? I don't have a problem. I mean, why? Chase, are you saying one on one side, one on the other? I mean, why can't you do
Why not? And
I think there's answers to the why not. If you want to have two tailbacks in, aren't you better off having one tailback and then an extra wide receiver or extra tight end?
Oh, but did you see Ferkser or was it Swaim? Who got blown up into the play into Derrick Henry? Like, that really worked, having a tight end as the blocker. Who was it that
Swain.
Swaim got blown up into the play. And Derrick Henry lost yards.
But they ran for 177 yards. So they have some things that are working in the run game.
But they
did tight ends.
There was a play where they put Derrick out wide. Why not try that? Again, just having him on the field, I think, is more effective.
To your point is there's no way, no matter where he lines up, you're going to ignore 22.
Right.
Ever.
That's my whole thing.
You have to pay attention to him. And that should, even if you don't use him, free up something else. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
I would say if it's fourth or third and 3 or 4, maybe even 5, there are times that I would consider having Henry in there instead of McNichols. When it's 6 or more, I totally understand having McNichols in there because he's pretty good at picking up the pass, blocking, and he's turned into a decent little receiver out of the backfield. But when it's third and short, the shotgun with McNichols in the game makes no sense to me. You're making it much easier on the defense there.
Okay, continue. I want to continue my point on the O-line real quick.
Yeah, because
it's a problem.
Because
it could be a season killer.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm trying to say.
I want to follow up. So go ahead, Chase. I want to follow up.
So I think Lawan's done here. I think if he gets cut, I think he's done because I think he wants to go do other things, which is fine. But
I don't subscribe to that. I don't think he's done at all. I think his days are done here.
We'll see how that plays out. I think Ben Jones is
You're
done.
Forgetting the league is always.
Are you talking about done today or done at the end of the year?
For offensive linemen, especially a guy who was a first-round pick,
sure,
all-pro left tackle. I mean, he will always get chances until literally the whole league says, oh, my gosh, this guy couldn't block Ben Roethlisberger.
Right.
And then he'll be done. But I'm just telling you, he's not done. If
mentally,
the Titans move on from him, there will be a team immediately that will go out there and try to acquire his services.
You could be right, but I'm saying mentally I think he's done. He just doesn't have the same mentality that he's had in the past. Ben Jones physically just isn't where he needs to be anymore just because he's played the position so well for so long that it's caught up to him. And in return, because you have the anchors on either side that are struggling, I think that has affected Saffold. I actually think Saffold does have some moments of where he's good at that position, but he's got no help around him anymore.
But he's having trouble staying healthy too. That's
true.
That's it. Ben Jones
because
and
he's having to do so
Saffold
much
every week, and Lawan would be in this category too, having trouble getting through the game.
Yeah,
just physically. That's what I worry about. I'm still all bought into this year. I'm not worried yet about what happens after this year. But because I try to keep in mind, you can look really bad in this league for a week and then not look so bad the next week. But I'm looking at a pattern with the offensive line, really having trouble protecting. Quesenberry, as much as he has maybe won this job on merit, he is really having trouble every week. He is not a starter.
And Nate Davis hasn't been great.
He's not a starter in this league.
Let me tell you something. Quesenberry got I did it. Halfway through the game, I was like, it was embarrassingly bad. And you know what's more embarrassing? This is what I don't understand. And Willie, you were out on the golf course. And Chase, you were next to me at Vanderbilt Legends Club when I took issue with Taylor Lewan. The only time he spoke was on social media after the game against Arizona. And I don't know the dynamics behind the scenes. Yet again, this was a road game. I don't know how this is working. But once again, if you're going to make that kind of money and then you're going to wait 2 weeks before you, or at least after the Seattle game, the following week, and a win, and then you want to talk, and then you want to, get after the fans for booing you, and then you get worked again, and then you disappear again. I don't know who's in charge of who's talking and who's – but the fact that you trotted out Quisenberry yesterday for the face of that offensive line to talk, when Taylor Lewan is the guy who does all the talking for the offensive line. He's called dad. He's the one who does all the talking. Yep. He makes the big bucks. He's the left tackle. And yet again, here's a guy that gets worked over on Sunday and disappears at the podium. Like, to me, that's a huge problem. The only time you've made him available or he's chosen to talk once again without knowing the dynamic, I don't know whose call this is. My guess is you don't tell Taylor Lewan what to do. He's going to do it no matter what. But here we go, another example of a bad game, and he disappears, nowhere to be found at the podium. Quisenberry is your guy you trot up there to talk to the media? Like, give me a break. I mean, good for him that he stood up there and answered the questions. Man, he had an awful day at the office. And yet he's the one standing up there answering the questions and not your star left tackle who makes all the money. Give me a break with that. I don't understand what is going on behind the scenes with Taylor Lewan, where he talks one time after a win, and it's to get after the fans for booing him. And when he's had two bad games, he's nowhere to be found. It's like, come on.
I think I agree, and I also think that it also shines light on what they're asking from guys like Quisenberry. Quisenberry has done a tremendous job to get into this league. He is really not a starter. They're asking him to be a starter when he should be cut out for the role that he made the team for, and that is a solid overachiever who can fill in at different spots. He's not a right tackle in this league. Now, maybe they're just having to find that out now. They had to give him a chance before they made that determination because they really like this guy. But it just shines light on. There's only so much you can get. They do such a great job finding the Cameron Batsons and the McNichols and Quisenberries and all Breon Borders. They're getting a lot of mileage, but those guys cannot save you every week. They can't save you every week. They're going to get exposed over time if you continue to draft, and none of those guys have stepped up.
Yep.
They're not getting anything from the draft, and your star players were missing yesterday. But Bud Dupree, so it's a formula for trouble.
Sure.
And they almost pulled it out. That's why I'm saying a tie I would have been okay with that with all that stuff.
Arguably the worst team in the NFL.
Okay, they are the worst team in the NFL. They have been, but they have a new coach. They have a new quarterback. They have. I said it all week yesterday. They are pushing. They're young. They can't be this bad every week. They picked the wrong game to play them, and some of it's on them. They just didn't do the things that the other teams had done to exploit the youth. So right, they didn't get after him. They didn't pressure him. They let him get confidence, and he burned him. Just
by the
enough.
way, Urban Meyer having to answer questions about the video this week, and that should be an interesting press conference. Wow. I'm concerned that this team has not been able to figure out drafting offensive linemen or the decisions with offensive linemen. Jack Conklin moved on. The decision was made to move on from him. And, oh, by the way, how's the right side looked since Jack Conklin has moved on?
Well, Dennis Kelly was solid.
You wasted a first-round pick on Isaiah Wilson. Total wasted first-round pick. You've drafted now Dylan Radins with the second-round pick, and this guy can't even touch the field. Like, that's what you're trotting out there, and this guy still isn't good enough to even touch the field. Like, that is a huge concern.
And we're not even mentioning it's not as if they didn't have a plan. They had about 4 ways they could make it work because they brought in Lamb and they kept Sombraio, even though they chose not to bring Dennis Kelly back, which still sort of mystifies me. I don't know where Kelly is today, what roster he's on, if he's playing or he's not playing. I have not kept track of that. But I'm with Chase that he was a pretty steady guy. And
I don't know why they let him
I
go.
know it was probably a salary cap decision. But
he wasn't making that much.
Well, he must have been making something, or else they wouldn't have cut him.
Where is he?
Green Bay.
Is he playing?
I'm not sure. I just know he's with Green Bay.
So you had Radens, Quisenberry, Lamb, and Sombrero, and they've gone with Quisenberry, and it's just not good enough. Not to win the way they want to win.
He's the backup.
He's a guy like when Saffold went down in the middle of the game, or Lewan. When guys go down when somebody goes down in the middle of the game, he's a guy that you can plug and play and try to get you through a quarter or the rest of the game. He's just not a 60-minute guy. He's just not. And maybe you get it away with it against a lesser, formidable defensive front, but that Jets defensive front was their strength. I mean,
that's a good
That
front.
is their strength. That is a really good defensive front in the NFL. They're really good. Man, those guys were getting after it. I mean, absolutely getting it. How many times did you hear dang Quincy? Was it Quincy Williams? Is that his? How many times did you hear Quinn? I mean, how many times? No, they've got.
There's Quinnen.
There's
Williams,
Quinnen, and then there's
Quincy
Williams.
Yeah.
It's like, how many times do you have to hear his name? Holy crap! But I mean,
C.J. Mosley. Wow.
Did
he make some plays yesterday? Holy cow!
Did. Yes, he did. All right, we'll have plenty of time to continue this discussion throughout the course of today. We'll come back. We'll switch gears. Something that was good was Tennessee going to Columbia, Missouri. They absolutely shredded the Tigers. We'll talk with Vince Ferrara from the Sports Animal in Knoxville next here on Darren Donica Chase, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
But first, sign up today at BetMGM and enjoy the thrill of victory on your very first bet. The King of Sportsbooks welcomes you to Showtime with the lock of the year. All you have to do is take a $10 moneyline wager on either Las Vegas or Los Angeles, and if either team scores a touchdown, you'll win $200 in free bets, regardless of your bet's outcomes. That's simple. Use the bonus code 1025GAME200 when you make your first bet to take advantage of this offer. Enjoy football like never before with BetMGM's live betting options, boosted odds specials, and daily promotions at your fingertips all season long. Download the app or go to BetMGM.com and use the bonus code 1025GAME200 to win $200 in free bets if either Las Vegas or Los Angeles scores a touchdown. Nothing beats a W at BetMGM. New customer offer, paid in free bets. Must be 21 years or older. Must be in Tennessee. Visit BetMGM.com for a full list of terms and conditions. For problem gambling support, call the Tennessee Red Line at 800-889-9789.
Big run. Tyon Evans in the open field. It is a track meet. He's to the 20, to the 10. Touchdown, Tennessee. 92 yards.
It's a good day on Saturday. Well, the first 30 minutes of the show, we're talking about what took place in New York. That was not good. It was good in Columbia, Missouri. All Vols. By the way, you can watch Darren Donick and Chase streaming live every single day on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Our video